Geoscientists find new fallout from the collision that changed the world. This is by Princeton University, Liz Fuller-Wright on phys.org. Well, we know that the collision that happened about 65 million years ago was an extinction level event. They believe that that's what caused the Yucatan Peninsula impact crater and also, of course, the dinosaur extinctions. When the landmass that is now the Indian subcontinent slammed into Asia about 50 million years ago, the collision changed the configuration of the continents, the landscape, global climate, and more. Now a team of Princeton University scientists has identified one more effect. The oxygen in the world's oceans increased, altering the conditions of life. Quote, "These results are different from anything people have previously seen," end quote, said Emma Cass, graduate student in geosciences and the lead author on the paper coming out April 26th, so it should have been out yesterday. "The magnitude of the reconstructed change took us by surprise," she said. Cass used microscopic seashells to create a record of ocean nitrogen over a period of 70 million years ago, shortly before the extinction of the dinosaurs, until 30 million years ago. This record is an enormous contribution to the field of global climate studies, said John Higgins, associate professor of geosciences at Princeton, and he's also the co-author of the paper. Quote, "In our field, there are records that you look at as fundamental that need to be explained by any sort of hypothesis that wants to make biogeochemical connections," Higgins said. "Those are few and far between, in part because it's very hard to create records that go far back in time. 50-million-year-old rocks don't willingly give up their secrets." I would certainly consider Emma's record to be one of the most fundamental records. From now on, people who want to engage with how the Earth has changed over the last 70 million years will have to engage with Emma's data. Now, in addition to being the most abundant gas in the atmosphere, nitrogen is key to all life on Earth. Quote, "I say nitrogen so that I can study the global environment," end quote, said Daniel Sigmund, Princeton Dusenberry Professor of Geophysical Science and the senior author on the paper. The senior author. Sigmund initiated his project with Higgins and then Princeton postdoctoral researcher Daniel Stolper, who is now assistant professor of Earth and Planetary Science at University of California at Berkeley. Every organism on Earth requires fixed nitrogen, sometimes called biologically available nitrogen. Nitrogen makes up 78% of our planet's atmosphere, but few organisms can fix it by converting the gas into a biologically useful form. In the oceans, cyanobacteria in surface waters fix nitrogen for all the other ocean life. As the cyanobacteria and other creatures die and sink downwards, they decompose. Nitrogen has two stable isotopes, N15 and N14. In hydrogen-poor waters, decomposition used up fixed nitrogen. This occurs with a slight preference for the lighter nitrogen isotope N14, so the ocean's N15 to N14 ratio reflects the oxygen levels. That ratio is incorporated into tiny sea creatures called foraminifera during their lives, and they preserved in their shells when they die. By analyzing their fossils, collecting the ocean drilling program from the North Atlantic, North Pacific, and South Atlantic, Cast and her colleagues were able to reconstruct the N15 to N14 ratio of the ancient ocean and therefore identify past changes in oxygen level. Oxygen controls the distribution of marine organisms, with oxygen-poor waters being bad for most ocean life. Many past climate warning events caused decreases in ocean oxygen that limited the habitats of the sea creatures, from microscopic plankton to the fish and whales that fed on them. Scientists try to predict the impact of current and future global warming, have warned that the low levels of ocean oxygen could decimate marine ecosystems, including important fish populations, because, there's not enough oxygen. Now, when the researchers assembled their unprecedented geologic record of the ocean nitrogen, they found that in the 10 million years after the dinosaurs went extinct, the N15 to N14 ratio was high, suggesting that ocean oxygen levels were low. They first thought that the warm climate of the time was responsible, as oxygen is less soluble in warmer water, but the timing told another story. The change to higher ocean oxygen occurred around 55 million years ago. That's during the time of continuously warm climate. Quote, contrary to our first expectations, global climate was not the primary cause of this change in ocean oxygen and nitrogen cycling, Cass said. The more likely culprit is plate tectonics. The collision of India with Asia, dubbed the collision that changed the world by legendary geoscientist Wally Brocker, a founder of modern climate research, closed off an ancient island, an ancient sea called the Tethys, Tethys, disturbing the continental shelves and their connections with the open ocean. Over millions of years, tectonic changes have the potential to have massive effects on ocean circulation, said Sigmund. But that does not mean climate change can be discounted, he added. On timescales of years to millennia, climate has the upper hand. Nitrogen isotopes, evidence for expanding ocean suboxia in the early Cenozoic. This is by Cast and Sulper, Alexandra Oderset, and John Higgins, and more. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.